Hello, everyone. I'm Lizzie,
And I'm May.
and we're Mayhem Mamas.
We're on this channel. We talk about what we want because it's our channel.
Yes, and that's exactly what we're going to do today. This is kind of breaking news. I don't know if everyone's heard or not, but Queen Elizabeth II has passed away. The 96-year-old British monarch passed away today at her Scottish estate in Balmoral. She was the longest reigning monarch in British history, sitting on the throne for more than 70 years. According to the BBC, she was said to have passed away peacefully with family surrounding her. Um, those family members, so far that I know, were her sons, um, King Charles III and the Queen Consort were there. Prince William was there. And we do know, according to the BBC, that Harry was en route but did not make it in time.
Mm. Now, was there anything about her daughter?
I didn't see anything about her daughter. I was looking for that, and I didn't see anything about it. I do know her one daughter-in-law, Princess Sophie, was there. Actually, I think she is the wife of the Earl of Wessex, I believe. Um, Other than that, um, I don't think that there was any other, you know, wives of
Mm-hmm.
or I didn't see that her daughter was there. I didn't.
Hmm.
I think probably more details will come out, as this kind of thing kind of unfolds.
Right.
It's still pretty fresh and new. I do know that I heard that King Charles and the Queen Consort would be staying at Balmoral for the afternoon, and then at some point in time they'll be heading back to London. So I'm sure once they get back in and he addresses the country, we'll kind of know a little bit more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Also, we do know that as soon as she passed, you know, Prince Charles immediately was
King.
inherited. Yes, he immediately
Right.
inherited the throne, which makes Camilla, Duchess of Cornwall, the Queen Consort. And
Right.
even though he has not been sworn in yet, he is still king. And I did hear also that I think it was in the BBC article that I was reading that him and her will be sworn in together at the same time, side by side.
Huh. That is very interesting.
Yes, I mean, on a lot of levels, I never thought. I mean, she's just been on the throne for so many years. It's just like you feel like, wow, she's just always going to be there.
Right.
And then
Right.
the other thing is that she's just it's like a given. She's just one of their national treasures. I mean, maybe that's not the right thing to say, but she's kind of like always the constant. Most of the British people really don't even remember another monarch because
Right.
of 70 years. That's a
Right.
long time. And so
Exactly.
she did outlive her husband by about a year and a half because he passed in April of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't last too much longer than her husband, and we know kind of that happens a lot when people have been married for a long time and one of the spouses passes, the other one is not always too far behind.
Right. Right.
I know she looked frail in the past few pictures and footage that I've seen of her, but boy, what a woman, right? She was
Yeah.
just a go getter, just a strong, strong woman.
I kind of feel like she had some kind of exceptional DNA in her blood to be a woman and to be able to make decisions that are not, she didn't make decisions from the heart or emotional decisions. She made them as a queen and for her country. She didn't do what a mother would do, or she didn't do what a grandma would do. She did what a queen of England would do. And I
Right.
I know that it caused her a lot of issues in the family and, some heartache and a lot of issues maybe with her countrymen too as well.
Uh-huh.
But, hell, our presidents can't even do that. They can't
Right.
even do it within their own party to tell somebody no. So, can you
Exactly.
imagine? They're not going to tell their own son no.
Mm-mm.
And I know that she still stands by them, but, she has, like with Prince Andrew and the situation he got himself into, she's bailed him out, but she said, all right, you screwed up. You given us a bad name. I'm stripping you of your titles.
Right, exactly. Tally ho.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
get on about your way. You know, you can tell
You're an
that
idiot.
yes, yes, exactly. Well, and and she could separate that monarch from mother. Like,
Right.
even though this is my son and you know that she still loves him and he's part of her family and that's never going to change, but she did not have a problem making those hard decisions.
No, she didn't. And I respect her for that because I don't think I could do it. And I don't know of a lot of other women who could do it. I don't think any woman president could do that.
Right.
I don't know if Hillary Clinton could do that. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, she was definitely born for leadership and to
Yeah.
have taken over at such I mean, she was only what, 24 when
She was 24 years old.
yeah,
I
I
mean,
mean,
I don't know any very no, let me rephrase that. I don't know very many 24-year-olds who can barely tie their shoes at 24, let alone rule a country. And I know that a lot of it is pomp and circumstance. It's not like she wrote laws or did a lot of
right.
queening. But you're still responsible for things. You still have to keep things going and you still have to make appearances and like a sacrifice and give up a lot of things, and she did it with great pride, and she always 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 put her country first. And I mean, it caused a huge rift between her and her husband, but he knew what he was getting into when he
Right.
married her. I
Yeah,
mean,
exactly. Yeah, definitely. Well, she definitely, like I said, she was born to be a ruler,
yep,
and I think she did it with grace and dignity and in most areas. Of course, here we go. We're saying this from an American perspective
exactly.
an American point of view, and
Hmm.
so, we aren't one of her subjects,
No,
and so we don't know the ins and outs of everything
no,
that happened every day and the things that she actually did for her country, blah, 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 blah,
no.
blah, blah.
Right,
We typically only hear about the wonderful things that's going on. So,
right,
there's always 2 sides to every story, and there again, we do not live in a monarchy
right,
country. So, there's something to be said for that as well. But,
right.
um,
Was she a great mother? Probably not. You
right,
know? Was she a great wife? Probably not.
right.
So,
Yeah, she definitely devoted her life to her country
exactly.
for sure. And there and there's something to be said for that
Yep. And
for sure.
I mean her uncle couldn't do it. He abdicated the throne
Right, exactly.
and chose and forced her father and her to be placed in this situation.
Right,
So, and that's kind of what's irritating about Meghan Markle in that situation is she knew what she was getting into. And then, I think she wanted the title and wanted the fanciness of it and thought it was going to be this fun, glamorous Disney princess fairy tale. And then when she saw that it wasn't
right.
and what it actually was and behind the scenes of how much work
Work
it
it was.
yes,
Mhm. Mhm.
I think she decided it wasn't great fun and she wanted out.
Yeah, she's done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry. What was it, like a year, maybe a year and a half that she lived there?
Yeah, something like
Something
that.
like that? Well, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. No, that's not the old college try.
No.
That's not long enough to give it your best shot in that
No.
type of a situation.
No.
And not only did she know what she was getting into, but
Yeah.
she's marrying the son of
Right.
Princess Diana, who everybody in the world knew about her situation and her
Exactly.
trials and tribulations, and she was British.
Mhm.
So, you have to be locked away in a closet to not have known what was going on. So, anyway, that's wow, that's a whole show in itself.
Yeah. Yeah, that
A whole
is. Well, the royals, and I think you could take each family and kind of do a whole one. I think Princess Anne was probably about the only one, and she even had scandal of her own.
right.
But that's what happens when you don't have a positive motherly influence in your
Sure,
life.
sure. Well, and the other thing about it too is that you can have a positive motherly influence and still have scandal in your life.
Yeah, true.
I mean, we don't talk about all the scandalous things that's gone on in people that you know's lives because they're not famous and nobody cares.
Right, exactly.
So, I mean, everything's always under a magnifying glass and everything's always, more drama than probably it needs to be in most situations. But yeah, I I think she's going to be greatly, greatly missed by her country.
Oh, absolutely. And her family. I mean,
Yes.
regardless of I can kind of I don't know, I can kind of see Harry I can kind of see this really affecting Harry in a negative way. I can see this bringing a lot of re-trauma up from his mother's passing, and I can see him dealing with this very difficult um because he was very close to his grandmother. I could see him having a lot of regrets
Oh,
because he
yes.
wasn't there in the last years of his grandmother's life. I
Right.
think he is going to have a lot of regrets in his actions and why his family has turned his back on him because of his doings, this
Uh-huh.
memoir and the American ways. And he didn't get to, because this last time, I think his grandma did say, "Hey, come spend some time with me while you're over here." And I don't know what his response was, but I know William and Charles were like, no, we're not gonna engage in that visit.
Right. Yeah.
And
Well, I mean, there's only so many times you
oh
can
yeah.
bash your family, and
Yeah.
it's one thing to bash your family in a circle of friends or family, but it's something entirely different to bash your family on a world stage.
Put
You
it in
know,
writing and make
Put
money off of it.
yeah, and
Yeah.
video it and all this kind of stuff. So
Well,
I agree with you. I think he's going to have lots of regrets.
yeah.
And I think he's going to go back and go
Yeah.
over the things
Yeah.
that he's said and he's done in the
Yeah.
past few years
Yep.
over and over and over and over again. Unfortunately, guess what, Harry? You can't change it.
Nope. Too little, too late, sir.
And there may be some real heavy relationship repercussions because of it.
And look, dude, your dad's still around. Your brother's still around. They're
Right.
always going to be there. Family, your brother and your dad, you can't change it. There will always be your brother and your father. Their blood, their family, you know. Um, Meghan Markle will always be the mother to your children. You can't change it. You're drawn together by blood. But if you probably did some soul searching, and decide where you belong and went to your dad and your brother and obviously after some time and said, "Look, this is where I belong. This is where I want to be."
Right.
I'm sure they would accept him with open arms and put him back where he needs to be.
Right. Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting to see what happens in the months and years to follow now, and um, it's also going to be very interesting to see what stance and direction that King Charles III goes in now. I never thought
Yeah.
I never thought there would come a day when uh, Camilla would be queen.
Oh no.
And
Nope.
so I know that that's a heavy subject with a lot of people, but I do also know that she seems to have won over a lot of the British people just from what I can see. And, I mean, she's not as, I don't want to say the word hated because that's really strong, but I, she's not disliked, maybe is the right word, as much as she used to be, especially in those few years following. Um, you know, I
Yeah.
say few years, probably more like 15 years, following the death of Princess Diana.
I
Um,
mean, Princess Diana had Camilla had big shoes to fill, and Princess Diana was loved and liked by
the people.
everybody worldwide, not
Yes.
just in Britain. A lot
Right.
of Americans loved her, celebrities loved her, charities loved her, foundations loved her. I mean, she was beautiful, she was kind, she was generous. I mean, she was the bee's knees, fashion, just
Right.
everything. She
Yes.
was
Yes.
humble, she was kind. She Even though she was a royal, she looked like your mom or your sister or someone you
Right.
could relate to. Camilla came across, okay, so I guess people knew that, Charles was in love with this woman and always wanted this woman. And so people did not forgive Camilla for coming in between and ruining this marriage. And they wanted Princess Diana and Charles to work out, and it didn't. And so I think a lot of people blamed Charles and Camilla for that. And, maybe they are to blame. I don't know. But I'm sure all three of them are to blame for it. And I'm sure Princess Diana wasn't as perfect behind closed doors as everybody thought she was in public.
Right.
But yeah, Camilla doesn't come off as charming and lovely and sweet looking as Princess Di.
Right.
But now she's 70 years old, so you got to wonder how beautiful and lovely Princess Di would be in
Right.
her 70s. I don't know. I don't know.
Right. Right.
Camilla looks like she's had a rough life. But here's also my problem with it is Camilla was divorced, and the queen did allow Charles to marry her, and the church allowed him to marry her.
Right.
Queen's sister, who I can't think of her name, Margaret,
Yes.
wanted to marry a man who was divorced, and the church would not allow it. Now,
Right.
mind you, this was 40 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And the Catholic, I think they were Catholic, they would not allow such things. But now here we are. It might have even been 40 years, 50, 60 years ago. I can't remember. But poor Princess Margaret didn't get to have her wishes fulfilled. And she had huge relationship problems, didn't get the love of her life. Of
Right.
course, she probably would have ended up divorced anyway, but she wasn't able to marry a man because he was divorced. And
Right.
here comes Charles, who after Di passed away a year, I think it was about a year or so later, got to marry Camilla, who was divorced.
Right. Well, and it's here we go again with that. I mean, and actually it's their religion is Church of England because they split away from the Catholic Church
Oh, okay.
whenever ago. But the reason why, they split initially was so that a monarch at the time could kind of make his own rules and he could divorce his wife. So they split from the Catholic Church and formed the Church of England. That's how that started. And so, it's unfortunate, I guess, that
Mhm.
I mean, what the heck? You can just
Yeah.
change all these things to fit whatever it is that you want. And I mean, traditions that she stood so firmly on,
Right.
speaking of the queen, she wouldn't change or bend. But then when it came to this, so there again, I kind of feel like with her age came a little bit of softness towards her children.
Maybe. I don't know. Because she wasn't gonna let him marry Camilla in the first place
Right. And
because
then he
she
did.
wasn't. Yeah.
And then she was never supposed to be able to be queen.
Well, and there for a while, from what I had heard, I don't know, but from Charles had fallen out of favor with the queen. He wasn't gonna be king. She was gonna skip him and make William the king.
Hmm.
And then over time, things smoothed themselves out,
Right.
which time has a way of doing.
And I think that a lot of that came from also, um, he wasn't supposed to be able to be king if he got divorced and he married somebody that was divorced.
Right.
And
Exactly.
so
That's what it
all of
was.
that, so then all of that got changed,
Right.
which is
Well,
just
and you never know what um oh, I can't think of the name. The people on Downing Street with the prime minister, oh, what are they called?
parliament.
Yes. You never know what they've told or suggested to the queen behind closed doors.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we don't know where all that
Yeah.
came from. But it's just interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens, how the people, if they, just invite them in with open arms and
Yeah.
all that kind of thing. It'll be really interesting to see and to see how this goes and how the country does with this change of monarch after having, a queen for so many years. And then now all of
Right.
a sudden we have a change. Everybody did, even though there's traditions and things that they stand by, there's always some
Changes.
changes
You're
that
right.
come in. They do things a little different. They see things a little different. They focus their attention on something different, that kind of thing.
Right.
So,
Well, King Charles has already said back when he started taking over more duties and preparing for this that he's going to cut titles. Like not
uh huh,
every single person in the royal family, like the royal dog walker does not need a title
right,
and pay to go along with these titles. Like a lot of people are going to find themselves working at McDonald's here pretty soon because you're not he's given people their money back. He's not going to take money from the Brit the British people anymore to give to people with titles. He's
right.
cutting it back. So I can see that granting him a lot of favor in the community.
Yeah, if he truly goes through with it.
That we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It'll be interesting to see what happens. See
Mhm.
what happens. But we just wanted to jump on and say a little bit about her. She's such an important person and politics, if you will. Really not just for the British people, but worldwide, a figure of
Right.
strength and grace and dignity. So she will
Right.
definitely be missed.
Right. And I think she
Um,
had a bit of a sense of humor
oh
in
yeah,
there
I think
too.
she. Oh yeah, I think she really did, and she was definitely a person of habits. She ate the same things most every day. She, did did her lunch and her tea time and her all at the same time. She was very much a creature of
Uh-huh.
habit. And I'm
But yet
sure.
loved hunting and
Yes, I know.
yeah,
Loved
she
hunting.
could
Loved her.
wear diamonds and jewels, but yet put on a skirt and go hunting.
Right, exactly. Pull up those wading boots and
Uh-huh.
Loved her dogs,
Yep. And loved her
nature.
family in her way.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So she will be missed by people across the pond as well here in America. So
Yeah,
prayers for
for sure.
thoughts and prayers to her and her family, and but I bet she's happy to see her sister and her mom and dad and her husband again.
Yes, for
So
sure, for sure. Okay, well, I think we're going to wrap this up for tonight, but don't forget, just a reminder to join us tomorrow evening, Friday, September 9th at 7 p.m. for our episode 2,
love
um,
and marriage.
Love and Marriage.
Yep.
It'll be a good time. So, everybody have a nice evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye bye.